Hello, everyone. So, I have for you today the spill. So, the owner of my kind of game store told me about this game and said that it had a weird dice tower mechanic that you throw dice in the middle and you have to figure out where they go to actually clean up this oil slick. So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. The concept's pretty neat. I don't know if any funding or money from this game went to environmentalism. I highly doubt it. But as you can see, you have your dice tower here, and you take your dice and you throw it. It goes in this tray, and then you put them in the numbered location in the die face. And this is a game between 1 and 4 players, ages 10 plus, last 15 minutes. I did read the instructions, and it says the game's pretty hard. So let's get to the box. So, these are our character sheets. These are the stickers for the tower. This is kind of a scoreboard. So the game will start here on standard, challenge, and ultimate, and these are markers of how many dice a player is going to roll down the dice tower on their turn. And then we have these rescued marine lives. Every set of six that you collect, you get one of these little orange cubes that you're going to use basically for special effects. It's a one-time use. And then every 3 oil you remove, you also get an orange cube. And the best way to describe it is kind of like funding. There is weather dice, 4 of them, and once they're rolled, they're done. They don't add to the oil slick, but they do have these penalties, and the correlation you can see here. There is one good one, which is, everyone gets a free action, because everyone usually has 2 actions, unless you want to add more black dice for extra actions. And then we have these resources, which every character draws 2 cards, and they pick one, and that's going to be your special action, which is going to be paid for by the orange cubes. These are cardboard punch-outs. This spill-out thing is just an indicator to say that it's completed a row. And these are all the tokens. And this is our, I guess, box thing. Perimeter walls for our dice tower. But these tokens are going to go onto the characters. And you're going to put them right here. And they're just basically a marker. You flip it over to say that the ability is turned off, which we have on the other side. Oh, and the marine life also can be contaminated. If the marine life gets too sick, you lose. So they start out healthy until the oil touches them. And once the oil touches them, it makes rescuing marine life really difficult. It's kind of a neat board. So this is our die bag. And it's really just for that. Here is our tower, or our base of our tower. I see this thing being really, really noisy. It's packaged in a really odd way. And here's our bag of legs. Are basically funding cubes. It's kind of neat that came with a bunch of different boat models. And then there's not very many cards, so I don't understand why it feels like there's just a lot of wasted space in here. And nothing in there. I didn't think there was anything, but I had to double check. So we have our win condition cards. So the difficulty is determined by the dots, 3 being the most difficult and 1 being the easiest. And this is where you get your little cards that you decide you draw, and they have costs. So this, once you put a cube on it, it's a one-time deal, it's a one-time use. Or you can save up and do double. And they can be done at any time as long as the requirements have been met. So that's pretty much the only cards in the game. Let's get to the board. So this is pretty much how the game board is set up. Put your animal tokens, not contaminated side. And in the first turn, really nothing happens. You're just getting set, which I guess is cool. And then on subsequent turns, you're going to take this awesome die bag, draw 3 dice, or whatever it says on the spill one, and then you toss them in. And then wherever they go, you'll take that die, and you'll slowly from the outer ring, so 2, 4, and 1. So kind of gives you the idea of priority of how to clean up the oil or push it back, which means it just goes in the bag, or rescue animals. So the dice tower is actually fairly disappointing, and it probably comes with the worst stickers in the world. They're not even cut to the proper size. Like, they just don't fit. I thought that was kind of weird, but I guess you kind of get what you expect with most board games that are mass marketed. Actually, I don't even know if this is mass marketed. But it goes around and everyone throws dice in. And, I mean, honestly, kind of working fairly well on Dispute. So, I guess that's good. But, yeah. So, I picked this up because I like co-op games. I like team games. And I thought this would be a fun game to try out. And the concept I was looking at was pretty novel. And I was like, that's a neat idea. I like that. So up here we have the dice. So here's our weather die. The engraving's really deep on it. And then just our black standard D6, I believe it was, what, 8mm? Or 12? 12mm? No, it's nowhere near a half inch. I don't remember the dice size. But yeah, that's pretty much the game. And like I said, go around, rescue animals, and just try to fill up that board. And we win once we clean up all the oil, or there's no animals. Win if you complete the conditions on the win card, which are these, our win conditions. So here it's remove 4 oil dice with 4 consecutive turns. I wish they had a tracker for that. Remove total of 9 oil dice from the game, or save 4 full saves. So that's cool. But this one's going to have 2 win conditions required, and this one has, or maybe not. Do you have to do all of these? That seems pretty difficult to do all of them. This one says you have to select a quadrant, and there's not really a marker. Yeah, try it out this weekend, see how it goes. But the dice tower, it's kind of crap. Also, I just don't like the fact that so it snaps together, not well by the way. But there's, I felt like they could have made the box a little bit better or put it in as one piece instead of taking it apart because it's kind of flimsy. This I actually kind of wish they made out of plastic. And I feel like they could have, just because cardboard's not very durable. Like I said, do a playthrough this week with my friends. Play one game at least to get it down. I might try it solo. But other than that, that's Spill. The rules are fairly simple. There are some minor grievances with wording and confusion. I didn't see anywhere where it actually said that you actually couldn't join up your characters. So everyone starts in a quadrant, northeast, southwest, on a ship, and you put it just wherever. And you move your ship as one of your actions. You don't have to, but you can. And you get 4 action points, but it costs 1 action point to move. And they didn't even give you a... Yeah, here we are. So 1 action point to move your ship, left or right. 1 action point to throw an oil die back in the bag. 3 to remove an oil die. And 1 action point to rescue a healthy animal. A contaminated marine animal costs 2 action points. So it doesn't say that 2 people can't be in the same quadrant. And I imagine because of the way this game works. Okay, it's on the characters. But yeah. But these it does clarify that you have to actually fulfill the conditions to do it. You have to do the move. So you can't just hope that it's working out for you. Yeah. This cardboard thing just kind of coming up already. And we have our tracking board here, where you're going to put these additional cards. And like I said, there can only be 4, and once they're used, they're gone. But yeah, it's going to raise how much oil spills out per player. So I'll see how it goes, and I'll give a review on that. The tokens, they're pretty decent. Not really good storage though for the tokens. It's just kind of just throw them everywhere, which is kind of disappointing with all this extra space. And it cost me $50, 52 something with tax. I like the concept of the game, so I'll see where it leads. This might be a game I play once and never ever play again because I'm just like, it's not fun. But the idea was neat. All right. So, my review for The Spill. Played the game, and it's very RNG. You can't really control where the dice go in the game, and it's really swingy because of that. But also your character abilities really depend on your goals. So, some of these characters really, really powerful, but they all seem to be very tied to your goals. And because of that, it's pretty RNG and swingy. Your win conditions, depending on what you're playing. Like, that's, if you have the marine biologist that saves contaminated animals and, like, you're going for sets, you can win really fast. Without the marine biologist, it's really hard. And then these cards, of course, your special abilities, once you start actually rescuing people, are rescuing and doing your job really well, are really strong. I don't know if these really matter if you can go wrong, but I haven't played with all of them. But there's a lot of RNG factors. The main RNG issue is the dice tower. So I thought there would be a kind of decent distribution, but I said it when I first opened the box that you can't really control where the dice go. And because you can't control where the dice go, one player can have a bunch of dice stuck in his quadrant and he gets screwed. And that's really hard to play catch up when you now have to be the hardest working player or the team loses. All the games I've played so far have been pretty close or tight, since the losing conditions are pretty easy to pull off. Because getting 6 spillouts on the board, if there's a lot of oil flood in the place, it's really hard to manage. But the thing that makes it really hard is, so if you have ever 3 sets of animals that are contaminated, you lose. So that's actually really hard to keep track of, and you only have that turn that they get covered in oil to rescue them. That's why the marine biologist is really strong, just because she can clear a whole sector by herself. And her speed makes up for it, because if you want to sit in a location adjacent to other animals, you can rescue 4 at a time. But everyone has a niche ability, and they're all really helpful. Some little more caveats are like, these tokens don't... I just think there's kind of repetitive, but I understand why they're there, because when the weather die does come out, I was saying we could just put it on and cover the sheet. No, all the characters get penalized for the weather die. It's just at the beginning of your next turn, you remove it. So it's just a reminder. These spillouts, I don't really like it that much, just because my friends were like, well, it fits perfectly over there. And I was like, well, I like knowing where the dice face are. So I put it like that, but they're like, well, but it fits perfectly there. And it does. So just a minor thing. I still don't like the fact that the stickers are just poor. They're stickers. They're going to be terrible. And I still don't like this cardboard thing, because roughly in a few playthroughs and assemblies, it's kind of already shown its wear and tear. Play-wise, it is not a very complicated or difficult game. I actually do believe the game does fit the 10-year-old demographic, ages 10 and up. And I think it's actually a fairly light game that's easy for even non-hardcore gamers to get into. The rules are fairly simple. The mechanics are fairly simple. The book is written kind of obscure because it, like, a half-finished thought sometimes, and it's kind of confusing to me on like why it was written that way. But looking through the rules and rereading it, playing it how it is, the game works out mechanically the way it says to. So all in all, I do think that it is a decent game. I would say that it falls in the category of average. I do think it's a little easy for what it is, except it can also be really frustrating the swinginess of one player just getting a quadrant filled with dice for them, because when everyone drops dice, it's going to go somewhere, and it doesn't mean it's going to go to your area. It goes everywhere. So the catch-up part can be really frustrating because one player could just be beaten up by the game due to RNG. But overall, I do think the idea is really good. And I think it's actually designed well for an age group of children. And I actually think this might be a good game for a classroom, just to have people understand how oil spills work, because they really do flow out and go around. It doesn't go into full detail, and that would have been a nice thing to actually put on the cards or in the book. A little bit more technical description of like what each person's actually doing in a real oil spill. But overall, the concept's neat. It's not super hard, so I think it's a good intro game. It is a little expensive, and I find that a little bit odd because this really should be like the $30 range. The most expensive components are the dice. Really, that's what it is. It's also an ironic twist, as people keep on pointing out to me when I show them this game. For a game about how bad oil is spilling, there's a lot of plastic in here, and I have to agree. There's some lost irony on that. But you really don't get a lot of components. This dice tower, it's delicate, so if you're trying to take it apart continuously, it's going to fall apart. And the stickers are dumb. This they could have made out of plastic or wood. I think wood would have been a better choice for this instead of paper, but I get they're trying to cut production costs. The weather dice are an X factor. They're not really important because there's only 4 of them. But they're an X factor, and I guess that's why the bag's there, but really you could just throw in 3 oil dice all the time. But as far as escalation, I didn't play it on the harder difficulties because the game says it's really hard. And like I said, playing it on the default difficulty, it's really swingy. But it was never, I couldn't manage it with what I had on the board because the objectives are pretty easy. It's just the planning, and it really comes down to knowing your play group and your play style. But a very well selected crew makes the game really easy. So overall, I do think it's a good game. I just don't know the level of gaming that it really is good for, because I usually don't play children's games. But I do think this would be a really good game for my nephews when they're a little bit older. The components, they're alright. But the price is really what gets me. I still have not seen anything that says that any of the proceeds from this game goes towards environmentalism or any activation of helping the ecosystems. So I think it was just an idea, and they tried it to see if it actually gained traction. But it's alright. So if you're interested in checking out the spill and picking it up, I would wait till it goes on sale. Like I said, $50 for this is a little high. 50 or 40, I can't remember off the top of my head. But it'll be in the earlier review of the video anyways. But that's the spill. If you like what I'm doing, please hit the subscribe button. Recommend to your friends. Leave replies. Do whatever YouTube tells me I'm supposed to be doing, because I don't know. But that's the spill. Take care.